Today we're at Farm in the City, adjacent to the J Hill Apartments. It's a community garden that, as you can see, is right off the highway, truly a farm in the city. Here with us today is Ron Yearwood, urban designer with the Nashville Civic Design Center, as well as coordinator of the Young Urbanists. Hi, Ron.
Hey, Ryan.
So this is a community garden right now, but it hasn't always been this way. Ron, you've been quite familiar with the neighborhood and the growth of Nashville. Could you explain to me what was here before it was a community garden?
Sure. This was all MDHA property. It was public housing. It was older public housing, and they were being remodeled and completely redeveloped. So behind us is the Hope 6 project that they replaced the existing public housing with. So this was all just vacant property for a few years. And instead of putting more homes here, they decided it would be better, since it's so close to the interstate. They didn't feel that that was the best need for development. So they turned it into community gardens. So MDHA started that initiative in 2010 and have really expanded since then. We've added about 30 new garden plots since then. The Rotary Club was a great community partner and added some funding and a lot of man hours. We built this pavilion last year and several compost bins. There's about 10 or 12 compost bins around the garden that can help people process everything that they're taking out of the garden and put back into it later on. Every Saturday, we have a gardening together event from 9 until about noon. So if you're just wanting to come check it out for the first time, come out then. That's probably the best time to come see it and have access to tools as well.
What I love about community gardens is that it is about the gardening, but the other part is that it's bringing people together.
Absolutely.
So whether you just want to hang out in the pavilion or just talk amongst your garden, it's a beautiful place to create community.
Right, and later in the summer we have more fruit coming out of the gardens. We'll actually have cooking together on the Saturdays as well. So it becomes a big festivity weekend event.
Speaking of fruit, we do have half the site dedicated to fruit trees.
That's right.
What are some of the varieties that we might come across here?
Yeah, last year they planted these fruit trees that line the gardens. They planted apples, peaches, and pears. And it's really just going to be a community fruit orchard, and this is the first year they're producing fruit, so I'm looking forward to having a fresh apple.
We did get to plant together this garden, which does have some beans. We've included some poles for them to grow up, but as we start to explore further down in the garden, these are all our nitrogen fixers. And we have some squash that we had here, and tomatoes. What was the purpose of intermixing the squash and the tomatoes?
Well, since we have such a small bed, you can play a lot with its proximity. So the tomatoes grow tall and the squash grows really low, so you can start incorporating more plants together with using the same amount of space. So really covering up the entire bed of greenery.
And I suppose the more plants that we have that we want, as opposed to those that are weeds, the better.
Exactly.
And in the front, we've got an array of spinach, arugula, some beets, some of our more low-growing plants that won't shade the plants further back in the garden. Most commonly in the community gardens, we're finding a lot of fruits and vegetables and herbs, but you can really grow whatever you'd like. This is your garden.
Yep.
What are the dimensions, the size of this garden?
So I chose the larger plot, which is 4 feet by 16 feet. And again, that's only $15 a year. So it's really nothing.
Yeah.
With as much food that's coming out of it, you can plant just about anything here.
And I see there's an incredible array.
Yeah, this is the third year I've had this garden, and I've just had a variety of both vegetables and fruits. I have some strawberry plants that are really taking over.
The strawberries actually, right now are just in bloom.
You can almost eat one right there. A lot of herbs, they do really well here. And lettuces, we just planted some more lettuce this spring.
Yeah,
this is so great just to come in the mornings and pick a fresh batch of lettuce for lunch.
I see there's some Swiss chard from last year.
Yes, so one thing that I like doing here and I've tried to experiment with is keeping it year-round. Not just for the spring and summer, but really allowing it to reseed and plant things in the fall and have a winter crop as well, which is
wonderful.
Great.
Yeah, full year.
And it does really great here. I think being downtown, it stays a little bit warmer than outside of the city, so you can really produce quite a bit. And having a structure and creating kind of a small greenhouse, if you will.
Yeah, this is a wonderful structure that you created. So do you place a screening over for the winter?
Yeah, it's kind of a mesh that breathes and allows water to get through as well. And that really provides a little extra heat in the wintertime and keeps the frost off of the more delicate plants.
Well, and we'll have a similar structure I see with the tomatoes growing up, and then we'll have the peppermint really kind of sprawling out with its runners to use as
it's running like crazy.
What are some of the events that the Young Urbanists have been doing throughout the year?
Sure. So the Young Urbanist group is really a multidisciplinary group of young professionals. With the Nashville Civic Design Center, we're a nonprofit organization that has a group of designers as the main base of people, but not everybody is a designer. So to get people involved that have interest in kind of urban topics like urban farming, and maybe cycling to work, or just new development in the city. It's a way to get people involved that may not necessarily have another way to do so.
Thank you very much for teaching us so much about really what is available at Farm in the City. And you can explore at their Facebook as well, or contact MDHA for gaining a plot.